Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Zano, and welcome to Online Marketing Moves. This is Season 2, Episode 2. Today will be the last day we say season whatever, This is Episode 2 of the brand newly titled podcast. This will be the last day we say that as well, okay? Today is Saturday, November the 21st. Before we get started, just want to say happy birthday to my happy 44th. Happy, how do you put it, ladies and gentlemen? My brother is 44. It's his 44th birthday. Okay, my brother, he's one of these people that doesn't like to act like he's at a certain age. When he was 42, he's like, I'm 24, and I'm like, no, you're definitely not 24. There, homeboy. And then last year he kept saying, I'm 34. I said, we definitely know you're not 34. And first off, my brother watches my brother watches wrestling, and he watches shows from the 50s and 60s. So you're definitely not like 24. So relax your muscles, okay? But anyway, it is his birthday. He's okay. I love him. So, happy birthday, Terrence Rizzano, born in November 21st, 1976, okay? Whew, that's a long time ago. Jesus. Anyway, I like to give my brother a hard time if you haven't noticed. Well, but anyway, today we are going to talk about a couple different things. Today we are going to talk about painting a picture when it comes to writing, when it comes to storytelling. We're going to talk about painting a clear picture, and I have a few stories for you. This podcast might go, longer than the normal, 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes they go 30 minutes. Today it might be a good 45 minutes because I have a couple good stories for you. But first, we are going to talk about marketing. We're going to talk about billboards. I was driving this morning. I'm driving through South Carolina on my way to, Georgia. Crossing to Georgia, home sweet home, Georgia on my mind, all that good stuff. And I happen to look up and I see a billboard for a lawyer, for an injury attorney. So I see the sign. I had to laugh. I go, but of course. I was like, this is the perfect place, because I don't know if you noticed or not, if you ever been to Georgia, but people in Atlanta, they can't drive. You know why they can't drive? Because most of them are from most of the people that can't drive, they're from like New York and New Jersey. So I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's not because of that. Oh, yeah, it is. But the traffic in Atlanta is kind of bad, and people love to crash into each other and everything like that. And you see all these commercials, for injury attorneys and things of that nature. So I was like, wow, as soon as you cross into Georgia, the first thing you see is an injury, like an injury lawyer. And it's like, of course, it's perfect, because in 40 miles, once you get further down, closer to Atlanta, that's when the crashes start to happen. So if you just saw that sign like 40 minutes ago, you was like, oh, I know a lawyer already. I just saw a billboard. So I was like, that's perfect placement. And I started thinking about other different states that I've been to that you see, like when I go to Wyoming. There's nothing out there in Wyoming, really. Once you get past Cheyenne, it's, pretty bad. But you see a lot of signs for different truck stops. And I'll tell you what, it's one truck stop that you see like 50 signs for. It's called Little America. Now, it's a very nice place to stop. Even if you're not in the truck, I would suggest that you stop at Little America, because they have like 50-cent ice cream. I know the whole layout. I've seen the billboard so much, it's etched into my memory. They have 50-cent ice cream cones. They have snacks. They have the cleanest bathrooms. Okay, they really do have clean bathrooms, by the way. They're very nice, because the door. Now I'm gonna give you this is a little travel tip from me to you. I am a traveler, a paid traveler, but I am a traveler. They have these, because some of these stalls, of course, the farther west you go, the worse. Like the rest area, like in Arizona, they have the smallest door. So if you're a tall person, man or woman, if you're tall, you stand up and you can just look over the door. No, nobody wants that, okay? When you're out east, you don't have that problem. But when you start going towards Arizona, California, you know, all these different places. So once you get past Oklahoma, don't go to the rest. Like Colorado, you can go to the rest area. But once you get past Colorado, I would suggest, if you're ever in Arizona, New Mexico, I suggest you go to the gas station or, you know, to the truck stop or whatever. So, Little America, they have the nice bathrooms. The door hits all the way to the ground. So, you have privacy, and it's very clean. So, Wyoming has a bunch of billboards for truck stops, which is great because what else? I mean, when you're driving out there, you know, especially like in the wintertime, and the weather's about to get bad, it's like, all right, which place should I stop at? Oh, there's a truck stop. Boom. You know? So different states, and I got to thinking more about it, and I was like, wow, because like if you had an adult website or one of those, you know how they used to have those 1-900 numbers. Say if you had one of those, where would you put that? You know a good place to put it. Say if you had a billboard right across the street from a prison, put it at the prison. Man, listen, they would call the hell out that number. You know what I mean? It's called advertising placement. You know, sometimes you gotta know the right place to put your advertisement. And I thought about my wife. You know, she owns a cooking school. And I thought, what would be a good place for her to put a billboard? What would be a good place? Say her. I like to say we when it comes to me and her. But what would be a good place for her to put a billboard? You know, I was thinking maybe across the street from a school, maybe by a school. You know, maybe something like that. But whatever you sell, you have to think about those kind of things. You know, product placement. You know. Advertising placement, billboards, because billboards work, especially if you're somebody and you go up, and if you're driving back and forth to the same places, you see the same billboards over and over and over again, So it's like, I probably told you before, but whenever I'm on 95 and I'm coming from, Maine or whatever, and I'm going down South Carolina. Once you get into North Carolina, you see the same billboard over and over for this place. You never saw such a place. Pedro's, they got all kinds of different things and all that. And I told you, I drove past there 100 times. After a while, I knew every billboard. For a while, when I used to be on that highway all the time, I knew every billboard. I was like, and then I remember I went back a few years later, and they finally changed some of those billboards. And I was like, wow, it's about time, Because they was like, my favorite one is, you never saw such a place, and they had a sausage, and I was like, that is very corny, but it worked because I'm like, damn, I see this billboard all the time, and it's like commercials on the radio. 1877 Cars for Kids, KARS Cars for Kids. I've heard that commercial 1,000 times. Some of this stuff is repetitious, but the billboards, they work, because depends on where you put them, it could be very helpful, I mean, you wouldn't put if you own a golf course, where would you put you wouldn't put an ad for a golf course in the middle of a bunch of apartment buildings in a city, It's like, come on, you know what I mean? Like you would put it on the highway closer out to where the golf course is, and people would be like, oh, look, I wanted to go golfing. I'm going to go to this place, So, yeah, those are just things that you want to think about when it comes to, different marketing, different things like that. I like billboards. I've driven enough, so sometimes, things get kind of, or we won't be doing that forever, But my wife, we are going to. I was about to say she wants to, but no, we want to go on an RV trip one day. We are going to drive around in an RV, so I will get a chance to still see billboards. I'm excited about that, but the truck driving is going to come to a halt in the next couple months. So I'll get it. It'll be refreshing. But anyway, billboards work. Advertising works. Sometimes you just have to put it in the right place. It's like you wouldn't put a, would you put a Planet Fitness ad at the Krispy Kreme? No. People that go to Krispy Kreme, they're not really worried about working out, okay? For the most part, I mean, if I was going to Krispy Kreme every day, I wouldn't be. I'd look at that Planet Fitness ad or whatever, some gym membership, and I'd be like, psh, they can have that BS, okay? So, but of course, in January, all these gym, December and January, that's when the gym memberships, the ads for gym memberships, they pop up like popcorn. They everywhere. They like, hey, for $1, come to the gym membership. Come sign up, blah, 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 blah. Because, of course, as you well know, maybe you don't know, but it's like 70 to 80% of gym memberships are bought in January. So they make a lot of money in January, and then people go for a couple weeks, they're like, and then nothing else. But I don't know. Would you go to the gym right now? I mean, me and my wife, we have a YMCA membership, but that's on hold because, man, I'm not going anywhere really when it comes to, the whole coronavirus. No. But anyway, I just want to point that out. Always remember, if you business wise, when it comes to marketing, you don't want to waste your dollars. You know what I mean? So this is why I say it depends on, you have to study location. You have to study what kind of business you're in, what kind of business you have, what kind of thing you're selling, and then if you want to use, because those still work. Some old-fashioned advertising things still work, and billboards work, because take it from a fella that sees a lot of billboards. Some stand out and some don't. Some I remember, some I don't. Some I can never forget. Some it's just bad, So that's that. But now, after this, we will get to. I have a couple good stories for you, ladies and gentlemen. So stay tuned. This is gonna be good. All right. So listen to this commercial by Anchor, and you can start your very own podcast as well. Okay. Listen to me. Listen to the ebb and flow of this great commercial. I'm only kidding. All right. I'll see you. No, I'm just kidding. Listen to the commercial and we'll be back. All right, welcome back. Now, before we get started, I know I haven't said this in a long time, but remember, kids, when you know you're going to do a longer than long podcast, put your phone on airplane mode, okay? Because you don't want people to call, interrupt you, because it's very annoying. I just want to point that out. I haven't said that in a long time. It hasn't happened to me in a while, but when it does, it's very kind of annoying. But I normally put it on airplane mode, but that's just a tip from me to you. Now, today we are going to discuss painting a vivid picture. Now, of course, as you well know, you might not know, you might not be aware, but we are all in the selling business. No matter what walk of life you're in, no matter what, even it's just like relationships. When you meet somebody, you meet a woman. I met my wife, my beautiful wife. I met her. She sold herself to me. She was like, you know what? She saw me in the store. This is a true story because I'm telling it to you, okay? I met my wife. She came around the corner. She saw me at the store, saw me at Walmart. Shout out to Walmart, who, helped me out. Saw her at Walmart. She came up to me. She said, "You're the most handsome man I've ever seen in my life. I want to be your wife. What can I do?" She was like, "You know what? Whatever it is, let me know, and I'll do it." I said, "You know what, young lady?" I said, "You're so beautiful. You're so pretty. You don't have to do much. All you do is hang out, and we'll get married, okay?" Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm only kidding everybody, okay? But no, when you're in a relationship, when you meet somebody, you are selling yourself to this person. You're like, hey, I'm a good fit. I'm a good, not all the time. I'm not saying you meet somebody and 2 minutes later you're like, oh, you should be my husband or you should be my wife or whatever. But we are definitely selling ourselves. Now, the trick is to always remember this. You don't want to start getting lax. Me personally, before we get started on these stories, it's something that I have to, it's like simple things like keeping your hair cut. Now this year, we can all cut you some slack, with the coronavirus, but you want to keep up your appearance, you want to keep up your dress. I'm not Steve Harvey, I don't give shitty relationship advice, but that's a little tip from me to you. The same things you were doing when you got with the person. I'm not saying you have to do everything that you was doing, but you want to try to be in the same ballpark. You know what I'm saying? I remember when I first met my wife, she likes to tell people this. She likes to say, oh, when I met him, he was dressing up and all this and all that. And I was like, oh, you know what? I decided this year, I said, you know what? I got to start buying some clothes and all this and all that. So 2020, well, of course, then the pandemic happened. So I blame it on the pandemic. So 2022, whenever this coronavirus thing is over with, I'm going to start buying more clothes. I'm going to, keep the haircut on a regular basis. Try to look the sharpest, so that way I can impress my wife, But anyway, so now we'll get back to the situation at hand, the storytelling. Now, as you well know, when you're writing a story, telling a story, you want to paint the clearest picture possible now, and the reason why you want to do this, if you are trying to, let's say you are selling the car, of course, as you well know, you don't sell the engine, you don't even sell the car, you sell the thought of them driving the car. What would you be doing with the car? This, that, and the other, So you want to paint as clear as picture as possible, You want to open up your window curtain, and you want to be able to, you don't want the window to be dirty. You want it to be nice. You want it to be clean. You want the picture to be, you want the story to be vivid, lush. I'm not saying make things up, but you want to make sure that your story, that the point of the story, the gist of the story is well told. You know what I mean? So you want to paint the best picture possible, And me, I remember, because I want to write more. I want to, as I told you before, I want to get into, writing books, So I want the books to be, I took a writing course on Coursera. Yeah, it was good. It was a good course. And then, so, they talked about making the window clean, not making it dirty. So today because when somebody's about to try to sell you on something, you have to, when somebody's about to sell you on something and they start mucking around and the window's real dirty, you're just like, you know what? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm good. I'll pass. And an example of that, I'll tell you, yesterday, I was in Virginia, somewhere in Virginia. Guy came out. I got loaded. Okay. We go to the back. Now, most of the time, they just give, most of these places, I give you a little truck driving 101. Most of the times, once they load you up or whatever, they say, all right, here's the paperwork, here's the seal, see ya. This place, they do the sealing themselves, for some reason. So, the guy walked around back, he shut the door, I shut one door, he put the seal on. So, I was walking. Most of the time they go, okay, have a good day, see ya. And I said, oh. I was like, all right, thanks, man. And he said, yeah, thanks. And then he started walking with me, and he started talking. And then I said, he's trying to sell me something. I knew it. And I knew what he was trying to get at, because as a driver, I've been down this road before. He was about to try to sell me on Jesus, okay? I'm thinking to myself, my man, I've already been sold. I'm good. You know what I mean? But he was walking, he's talking, he's like, this is a crazy world, right? I go, yeah, a little bit. And I said, oh boy. And then I said, I'm glad I got my mask on, because he was trying to get a little, So I had to take a couple steps back, because the whole 6 feet thing. So he said it again. He said, yeah, this world is crazy, man. He's like, I'm glad I'm a believer. And then I said, yes, me too. I said, we're covered in the blood, okay? Because I knew. Because nothing wrong with religion. Nothing wrong with it. But some people want to bash you over the head with it. And I said, oh boy. He's about to bring the noise. He's about to bring the funk. So he said something else, and he's like, oh, you're a believer. I said, mm-hmm. And because they always, whenever these people want to stop and talk to you about religion, they always want to try to quote you on some Bible stuff, quote you on some scriptures, and they want to try to kick you down some knowledge. And it's like, I'm good. I'm thinking to myself, I was like, well, man, I'm a little pressed for time. I got to get going. But I said, be blessed, brother, okay? And I said, and stay prayed up. And he said, yes, you are correct. And you stay prayed up as well. Thank you. Okay? I'm like, I'm out. And I'm like, man, the sales job was terrible. You know what I mean? I'm like, just come out, man. If you want to say a little prayer or something like that, that's fine. But you ain't got to be right. He was kind of beating around the bush, So the window, the painting he was drawing was not good, Man, he reminded me. I had to chuckle a little bit. He reminded me of a guy. It was one night when I first started driving. I remember I worked at this company, and they bring you into this thing called orientation, truck driving orientation. And basically what it is, it's like a sales job. Matter of fact, they try to sell you on the company for 5 days. They tell you how great they are, how wonderful they are, how they don't treat you like a number, your family, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it is some of the longest days, because from 8 o'clock, especially like the first day, you do it like the first day on any company, any trucking company now. You do like a drug test, you do like a physical, you do like a road test. And then once you do all that, you spend like the next 3 days, 4 days, they just talk to you. They beat you to death about, how they get fuel, how they load the truck, where places do they go, how great they are, blah, 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 blah. And then of course, when you first start driving, they don't put a lot of money into you. You're sort of more like a piece of meat than anything, You're like cattle. So I went to this company. I remember I was in Iowa. Went to this company, had a roommate. This guy, he was weird, okay? I remember him because he would walk in, and the first thing he said Isaiah something or another. And I'm like, what? And he was like, oh, do you believe, brother? And I was like, oh boy. I was like, I believe. But then he was like, what's your religion? And I was like, oh, I'm a free agent. I was like, I'm a free agent. So, I'm just looking to get signed to the highest bidder, Because I like, some days, I think I'm funny. I like to spread a little humor around, So, this guy, he didn't find that funny. And he was trying to sell me on his religion. I think he was Methodist, maybe. Nothing wrong with that, but he started off wrong on his sales pitch. You know why? Because he started talking about damnation and going to hell. And I said, oh, boy. I said, no, thank you, sir. We are done. And I remember he got mad. By the third night, I think I said something to him. And then the next day, he moved out. And he's like, I need to find another roommate, somebody who believes. And I was like, oh, that's fine, man. I believe, but I'm not hanging out with you, man. You are a nut. But anyway, those are two salesmen of religion that they didn't paint a very good picture, and I was out, And one more, It was a guy at the truck stop one day. I was walking. It was Saturday. And then he said, "Hello, brother. How are you?" I said, "I'm good, brother. How are you?" And he said, "I'm wonderful. I'm blessed." I said, "Mm-hmm." And he said, "Let me ask you a question." I said, "Go ahead." And then he said, "What's the last church? What religion?" I said. And then I remember because I had an apartment right around the street from a Catholic church, So I was like, "Oh, I've never been to like I went to a Catholic church a couple of times." And I was like, I enjoy the time frame that they get out of church. So I said, you know what? It's right around the corner. I could just walk around the corner. It was like, a few steps. So I was like, I'll just walk around the corner and go to church. And before I said I can go to church at 10. I could be done by 10:45, and I could be watching the NFL the pregame shows at 11 o'clock. So I liked it. So I told this guy at the truck stop, I said, I've been going to the Catholic church lately. And he said, "Catholic? Brother, you don't want to be no Catholic?" And I said, "Whoa, wait a minute, man." I said, "Hey, man." I said, "You can't say you're religious and knock other religions, man." I said, "Hey, that's kind of off-putting, And he said, "I'm just saying you shouldn't be Catholic." And I said, "Sir," I said, "this conversation's over with." I said, I might not be Catholic or anything like that, but I said, we can't talk religion if you're going to bash another religion. I said, that don't even make sense. So those are three stories. Those are three religion stories that, they didn't paint a very good picture. They were trying to sell, but the storytelling was bad, But me and my wife, we go to a very nice church, Pleasant Hill Baptist Church, Reverend Saban Strickland. He's a very nice guy, and they did storytelling, but it was very good. It's very nice. It's very pleasant, They're not pushy, Me and my wife, we like that. We don't like to be, they're not very pushy. They're very nice, very pleasant people, They call and check on my mother-in-law. They say, "Hey, mother-in-law, how's she doing?" This, that, and the other, They call, they pray. They do all kinds of things, and it's very nice. So, you see, that, and those people, I will always be grateful for them. So, even if we ever moved or anything like that, I can only speak highly of Pleasant Hill Baptist Church. So, there you go. Now, those are a couple different, failing storytelling when it comes to religion. And there's other different things. I will give you a story of yours truly trying to sell himself. Now this is a long time ago, Now, before we get started on this funny story, relationship wise, I sold myself to my wife, and ding 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 ding, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, the sales job works. Okay, I mean, we are married. It's been 3 years, and I can't speak for her, but she seems happy. No, I'm just kidding. No, she's happy. We're happy. So, now now of course, as you well know, I know today is a fun day. Today is a good day. But as I told you before, every whatever business you want to be in, whatever business you try, everything's not going to work. Every idea you pitch is not going to work. Every sales pitch you do is not going to work. Everything's not going to work 100%, and that's okay. Don't take it personally. You know what I mean? So everything is not going to go as planned all the time. So I will tell you this story before, I remember when I was in the Navy. This story, man, I've been waiting to tell y'all this all day. Let's see, today's Saturday, time of this recording. Yeah, so yesterday when I was driving and I knew what I was going to talk about, I said I got a great story and I can't wait to share it with everybody. And it's a good one. It's about when you think that you are ready to make your pitch. So, I remember when I was in the Navy, I was a young seaman. I think I was an E4 by then, but it don't matter. And I was in A school. I was in San Diego. I went to a school in San Diego. I lived in, I think it was not too far from the airport, so that would be like North San Diego. Okay, so one day this guy, he was a married guy, and he had a wife, and he said, "Hey, have you ever been to 32nd Street?" Now 32nd Street is the main naval base for San Diego. And I said, "No, I've never been." And he said, "Would you like to go check it out?" He said, "Because you're probably going," he said, "more than likely you'll get stationed over there." And I said, "Sure, I might as well go over there and see what it's about, you know." So my friend and his wife, we got in his little Honda, you know, and we drove to 32nd Street. And so we went to I think we went to the grocery store. Then we went to the restaurants to get something to eat. Now, at one of the restaurants that was there was this place called Hot Dog on a Stick. I think they wear these colorful uniforms, you know, and you can buy hot dog and lemonade and all that. So I'm walking by because I stopped eating hot dogs a long time ago. So I'm walking by and I see a young lady, and I was like, I think I was 19 at the time. And I saw her and I was like, ooh. I was like, she's cute. And I was like, my dating was my dating in the Navy at that point was at an all-time low, you know. So when I saw her, I was like, ooh. I was like, man, she's attractive. And then, you know, she looked at me and she smiled and she said, hello. And I said, ooh, hello. And so, of course, I got excited. And I didn't say nothing because I was hungry then, you know. Food over women at that point. So I went and got something to eat, but I saw her again, and then I remember I walked by and I said, well, I'll see you later. And she said, okay, I'll see you later. And I thought, I don't even know this woman. What the hell is going on? But anyway, so we all went back, and the guy, he was like, you didn't talk to that girl? And I said, no, man. I said, I didn't talk to her. I didn't think nothing about it. I didn't, you know. I was like, I live way up, you know, up north, you know. I don't have a car or nothing like that. I mean, I can catch the trolley and everything, but. And so, you know, I thought about it for a week or two. So I said, you know what? You know what? She's a prospect. I'm going to go make a pitch. I am going to try to get her number. So it had been a couple weeks. I remember it was a Thursday. I'll never forget this. It was a Thursday. I said, you know what? I need a haircut. So I got a haircut. Friday came. I got done with class. I decided I went back to the dorm. I told my friend. Well, I told my roommate, my friend at the time, my man Clark. I said, Clark, I'll be back. And he said, where you going? And I said, I got a place to go. So I got my outfit on. I was ready to go. I had my nice outfit on. I remember my shirt. It was like white and blue. I think it was cream and blue, something like that. But this shirt I thought was like one of my lucky shirts. I was like, man, I look good in this shirt. We've all been there, you know. So I thought to myself, I said, man, I look good in this shirt, you know. And I had a haircut. And when I get a haircut, you know, like right now, if you've seen a picture of me, you'll be like, whoa. But when I get a haircut, I ain't too shabby, you know what I'm saying? So I walked out. I walked down to the, I walked down to Rosecrans to catch the bus by the Vons grocery store. And I remember I caught the bus. I was full of confidence. I had my mojo. And then, of course, and me back in them days, I was quite the overthinker. So anything I would do, not just trying to get somebody's phone number back then, long time ago. I would overthink everything, you know. It would always have to be some kind of big, elaborate plan, plot, you know. Now when I think about that stuff, I'm like, oh, Lord, man, just shut up and do it already, will you? So I called the bus. I remember I called the bus, went to the train station, got on the trolley, the blue line, of course, rode all the way down to National City. This is quite the trip, you know. Get off the trolley. I walked back to the naval station, to the naval base, you know, to the food court. And so I'm walking, you know. I'm thinking, what am I going to say? This, that, and the other. So I'm in a good mood. I am peppy. I got a pep in my step. I am talking to myself, you know. I'm like, man, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna get a number, take it out, blah 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 blah. You know, so I get to the to the food court, and I believe I think I either left my confidence on the bus, on the trolley, or maybe I just left it back in my room, back in, you know, back at the other base at my little dorm room, because I walked in, I saw the girl, and I said hello, and then she said hello, and of course, it's so funny how these things work. That day, for some reason, there was nobody. I mean nobody. When I say nobody, Jack, I mean not one living, breathing soul was in this food court at that moment. So it's me and it's her, you know? And I'm like, wow. And I don't know if that threw me off or what. But I stepped up and I said, excuse me, you know? I said, I got something I want to ask you, you know? And then I opened my mouth again, and the next thing I know, nothing came out, Jack. I mean, nothing. I remember when I was 5 years old, I had, believe it or not, yours truly, had a stuttering problem when he was 5. You know, I went to speech class for a few years, matter of fact, you know. But so I used to stutter some, you know. So for some reason this day, the stuttering, I guess I decided the first grade me decided, hey man, I'm back, and we're gonna stutter and all the way through this presentation, okay? So I opened my mouth and I'm like, and I just sort of got stuck, you know, right there. I'm like, damn. It's like, you know, in baseball, I like baseball. You like baseball, right? Of course you do. It's like when the manager picks up the phone, they call the bullpen, and when the starting pitcher's struggling, and you're like, yeah, get the lefty up. My brain was like, hey, what are you doing? My body was like, hey, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. What the hell is he doing? So it seemed like, and then of course, you know, when you're young, you know, everything is embarrassing. So for me, it felt like 30 minutes. Of course, it probably was like a minute, 2 minutes. And the girl was smiling, and I knew that I had no chance at this point. You know how people just take pity on you? This is how I felt. I said, man, this is not going. I said, I am not going to get. I said, the presentation is already in the toilet. I said, I'm not going to get anybody's number today, sir. So finally, I stopped the stuttering, and I said, I was just wondering, do you have a boyfriend? I said, because, you know, you are very nice. You're very nice, you know, attractive or whatever, and I would like to blah, 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 take you out and all this jazz, you know. And then I said a couple other things. Now, I got to talking, and I was all right. But for those 2 minutes, the picture I painted was, you know, it was bad, you know. So of course she was like, "Oh, that's so sweet." And I remember she was like, hey, "You should have came a month ago." And I'm like, "What? A month ago?" And then she put her hand up, and she was like, "I just got engaged the other day." And I was like, "Oh shit!" I'm like, "Oh shoot!" And I'm like, "Oh well, that sucks, you know." And I was like, and the mighty Casey step up and swung and missed. But I was like, oh, that's all right. And then we talked a few more minutes and everything, and I got me a lemonade. And she said, "You know what? You can have this lemonade." She said, "You're brave." I thought, I'm brave? Man, I ain't come down here to hear that. But, you know, at the time, I was like, man, free lemonade, I can't beat that. And it was a big size lemonade too. So, you know, I was like, well, I didn't win the war, but at least I got something out of the battle. You know, got a free lemonade. But that storytelling wasn't that picture I painted. It wasn't a good picture. So, you know, that's just yeah, you know. So that's this is why, and it's not about being confident either. When you're trying to pitch something to somebody, it's not about, because confidence is very fleeting. You know, you can be confident one day, you don't have to be confident the next, but you want to be consistent, and you want to make sure that you know you want to know you just really want to step up and get on with it. You know, I'm not saying you have to rush anything or anything like that, but it's like when I write now. You know, I've written more stuff. I've done more, poetry and written more stories. You know, and I try to make try to make it not like, you don't want to make it like C spot run, but you want to make sure that people get what you are saying. You want to make sure that people understand what you are doing, what you are saying. You want to paint a picture that people will know. You know what I mean? You don't want people to be like, what kind of abstract art is he trying to sell me? So this is why. Yeah, because I knew that wasn't going to work at all. I was like, this is not working out. This is not going well. And just for those 2 minutes, and sometimes you just know, you're like, no, this is not going to work. And when I got back to the trolley, I laughed about it. I went to the movies and I laughed, and I laugh now. It's so funny. It's just like, you want to, like, sometimes you want to like why, like what happened in that moment, and you just think about those kind of things and you just laugh. You just sort of chuckle, you're like, what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? But it's like, I'll tell you another thing. Like, I wrote a story a couple months ago. Wrote it on the website. I posted on the Medium about this program that I thought about joining, but then I looked more into it and I was like, oh, this program kind of stinks, So I wrote a story about it, and then a guy sent me a message yesterday on Instagram, and he was like, I read the story. I was thinking about joining that program too, and that program was, he said, your story helped me make a decision, and I'm not going to join it because it does seem very sketchy. And I was like, oh, wow. I was like, I'll be doggone. Now, if I sound like Howdy Do This, because I told myself that we are going to cut back on the profanity on the podcast, so bear with me, okay? But the guy wrote me, and I was like, oh wow. And I was like, he's like, I read your article, and he's like, I looked you up on the, I found your Instagram, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, oh, that's very nice, So I painted a very clear picture for this gentleman, and it helped him make a decision. So storytelling, painting good pictures is something that you want to do. And good storytelling can lead to good selling, either, selling a product or you selling yourself. Because as you well know, this week we've been talking a lot about positioning ourselves, being present, putting yourself out there. A lot of this week's podcasts have been kind of, be yourself, be personable, be out there, be, present. You know what I mean? So you definitely want to let people know that, hey, you want to paint a great picture. And you want to paint a picture that people, you want the reader of your story, or the reader of, say if you make a video or you do a podcast, you want the reader to have a clear idea of what you are talking about, like what's going on. You don't want to, the worst thing you can do, I don't know if you ever, like I watched a few episodes of Sopranos. Of course, I haven't been able to sit down and watch the whole thing, but I remember the last episode, and they had like a great show ended with like the weirdest ending, you know what I mean? Like, I know the guy was like, it's up to your interpretation, but it's like, you have such a great show, and a lot of people like this show, love this show, And at the end of the day, the picture that you drew for the last episode is so murky that it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's sort of like the episode of Seinfeld, because I love Seinfeld. I got all however many seasons they got on DVD. I got those things. I really like Seinfeld. You know, like I love Seinfeld, the show. But that last episode, it's like I don't even know what the point of this is. Like, where were they going with this episode? It's very confusing. It's very murky. It's very like, no, it wasn't good for like storytelling wise. It was terrible, you know. So you want to be careful when it comes to your storytelling. You want to paint a good picture. I'm not saying it has to be perfect, but you definitely want it to be clear. You know, you want to look out your window. You want the landscape to be right. You know, whichever kind of drawing you want to do. You know, because as I, you know, people want to buy things. People want to buy from you. People want to hear from you, but people are not going to sit around and listen to you be confusing to them 24/7, you know? It's like, I'll tell you something, it's like if you ever watched, I used to watch a lot of wrestling, and the one thing about wrestling, even though, of course, you know, it's scripted or whatever, but the one thing about wrestling was they used to tell a very simple story. It was good versus evil. You know what I mean? Like Hulk Hogan would fight. Like, you know, Hulk Hogan and Macho Man. They were tag team partners. And I remember Macho Man was like getting kind of annoyed with Hulk Hogan because he was always hugging Elizabeth or putting his hand on her, you know, her derriere or whatever. And eventually, like January, February, Hulk Hogan and Macho Man attacked Hulk Hogan, and then WrestleMania 5, they had a match. The Mega Powers exploded. That's very good storytelling. Like, I was 9 years old maybe. But that's something I could follow along with because it's very simple, you know what I mean? So this is how you want to be when it comes to you and your stories. Whether you're writing them, whether you're telling them, whatever, you know. Because I know sometimes this is something that I used to be bad at. I would tell a story, and then I get halfway through it, and I'd be like, I'm done. I don't feel like telling. And then I would just rush the story, and it's like, why are you rushing the story? People want to hear the story. So it's like, why rush it, you know? And so, like this podcast, you know, we have gotten better. Well, you know, I have gotten better at explaining things, telling things, you know, discussing things, you know, because I remember at first, I found myself talking real fast, you know, the first couple episodes, like, I feel like I'm talking kind of fast, you know, but now we have slowed down, you know, I've got the, we have slowed down, I'm able to, you know, tell things a lot better than what I used to. And sometimes I look down at the phone and it has gone from 0 minutes to, you know, 20 minutes. So it's like, all right, now we are getting the pace, the cadence. You know, you want your stories to be good. You want your stories to be, you know, precise. You want them to be nice. You understand what I'm saying? So, oh yeah, one more. Oh, this. See, we're 35 minutes into this thing, but one more story I will tell you about storytelling that went from okay, I'll listen to it, and I'm out. I remember a long time ago when I was a young man. I was 20. What was I? I think I was 24 probably. This is 2003. This is a long time ago. I remember this guy, and I probably discussed this before, but no. Before we get to that story, I will tell you another sales story. My sister-in-law, Allie. Hello, by the way. My sister-in-law, she told me and my wife one day, she was like, HBO Max. And I'm like, HBO Max? And she was like, yeah, are we gonna get HBO Max? Because she says because we all share cable, but me and my wife, we are the ones that pay the bill. It's funny how that works. Nah, I'm just kidding. I love her, but I just find that funny. But she was like, are we gonna get HBO Max? And I was like, I guess. And she was like, and then she said something else, and I was like, HBO Max, that might be good, And so she sold us on the idea of it's not like a whole sales job, but she was like, HBO Max, check it out or whatever, So, she signed us up for HBO Max. And I remember one day I was like, oh yeah, I gotta get this HBO Max. I mean, it's free because we got the cable or whatever. So I download HBO Max, and she talked, of course we all know HBO, so she didn't have to really. She painted a picture about the app and everything like that, and the picture was clear, And I was downloaded HBO Max, and I must say that HBO Max is one of the best. HBO Max and Disney are two of the better, the streaming services. And I'm like, wow, HBO Max has a lot of shows on there because I watched JFK, I watched You Got Mail, and I'm like, man, I really like these shows. I'm like, I'm really liking this HBO Max. So that is one picture. She painted a picture, a very nice picture of HBO Max. And I'm like, man, I'm going to try out HBO Max. And now I'm like, man, I want to use, I would rather have HBO Max than Netflix. I mean, of course, I can't get rid of Netflix because my wife would be upset. But I'm not gonna not Netflix. I'm sorry, Netflix. I like you. Amazon Prime. I can get rid of Amazon Prime. I don't watch anything on Amazon Prime, but so, you see what I'm saying? HBO Max, Amazon Prime, boop, HBO Max, come on in, buddy, So, that's that. Now, before we get going, because this podcast has went quite long, see, that's the idea of good storytelling. Now I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you a storytelling that started off great, but it didn't end well. Now, like I said, when I was 24, this girl I went to school with, she worked with my mama, and she told my mama, she said, is your son we having a meeting, She was like, this is back in the day when people used to have these meetings for these network marketing companies, and she was like, we having a meeting in my house, your son want to come over. Sorry, bye. I don't know why my impersonation is. It don't matter. But anyway, she was like, tell your son to come to my house. We having a party. Me and my husband, we having a party. I'm like, a party? And I asked my mom, what kind of party they having? My mom was like, I don't know. They just said they having a meeting at their house. I'm like, what kind of meeting? And my mom was like, I don't know. They just asked me, did you want to go? And I'm like, what kind of meeting, though? I was like, man, I don't know, man. I'm like, man, it sounds like some BS. I'm like, man, I guess I go because I know them. I knew her and her husband. I was like, I guess I go support, And so I went over there. I bopped over there. Of course, there wasn't that many people over there because, they was like, we told like 30 people and like 10 people showed up. I'm like, man, but of course, man, because you ain't saying what kind of meeting this is, So I got over there, and then, of course, some guy stood up, and he started talking about making money and all this jazz, And this sounded good, and, of course, at the time I was working at the prison, so I'm like, man, if I could become a millionaire and quit the prison, then sign me up. So, I'm like, oh, this sounds good, and, he was talking more and more and more, and I'm like, what we got to do? And he was talking about products and selling stuff, and I'm like, oh, boy. I'm like, what kind of products we got to sell, man? And he was talking about vitamins and all this kind of stuff, and I was like, no. But then he kept talking about the money. You know, at the time when you're 24, man, anything sounds better than 24 working at a, not. The prison was a hype. But, let's be honest. It's a prison, for God's sake. You know what I'm saying? Eesh. You want to do that forever? You know what I mean? So when he was talking, I'm like, oh, yeah, man. I'm like, man, I just want to. And they was like, we having a meeting in North Carolina, or we having a little get together in North Carolina. If you want to come, you can check it out, and then you can sign up for it after that. And I said, North Carolina. And at the time I was living in Missouri. I said, North Carolina. I gotta go over to North Carolina to hear another pitch. Man, I don't know about all that. And they was like, it'll be fun. And I'm like, all right, man, y'all seem kind of legit. I'm like, man, why would this girl who I know from high school, why would she be full of it, man? I said, man, she not full of it. I said, her husband, he seemed like an honest guy. He an honest bloke. You know what I'm saying? They all into, whatever they into. You know what I'm saying? I said, man, they seem like on the up and up. So I paid a little, I think it was $75, something like that, to go to North Carolina. So, of course, we all get in the van or whatever. We driving. We drove to North Carolina. This is going to be a 3-day meeting. So, I'm halfway in, At the time, I'm like, okay. Because before we get to North Carolina, I'll tell you. I went to a couple of days. They had, like, these Sunday meetings they would have, So, it was the guy that did the meeting, the guy that I knew, and a few other guys. They would sit around and pitch these ideas to each other about how they could get more sales and all this kind of stuff, And I was like, man, these guys seem really nice, man. They sound like they on the up and up. And, these guys are just talking. They're like, yeah, I'm making this kind of money. I'm like, man, they making that kind of money on their own time? I'm like, man, somebody sign me up. This sound kind of good. I'm like, but you know what? I got to wait. I was like, because I don't know, man, Because I remember I told my brother. And my brother, first off, my brother is the dreamer, but at the same time, my brother's a dreamer, a schemer, and a non-believer, okay? So my brother's all three of these dropped into one. I told my brother about this because, at the time, I still was listening to my big brother. But he was like, that's a scam. I'm like, man, I said, why would it be a scam, man? I said, man, who would lie like that, man? And my brother was like, it's a scam. You going all the way to North Carolina to get scammed? He said, man, you gullible. I said, man, I ain't gullible, man. I said, I just want to find out what's going on, man. I said, you never know. I said, man, the man said he making like $2,500 a month, man. I said, man, I can use $2,500 a month. I said, hell, can't you use $2,500 a month? Because me and my brother, we did a lot of walking around talking about what we going to do to, drum up some cash, And my brother was like, yeah, I can use $2,500. But, man, that's a ripoff. So I'm like, nah, I ain't going to. I said, you know what, man? I said, I'll be listening to you, but I'm going to have to go to North Carolina and see what they talking about. And so, I went to a few of these meetings they had. They gave me a couple of these tapes, blah, 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 blah. You know. So I go to North Carolina with them, Everything's all right. North Carolina, nice state. Yeah, man, it's all right. Now they got bad traffic. But anyway, back then, 2003, traffic. Back then, it was still, tobacco roads. So, I'm just kidding. But, so I get there. We go to a hotel, Of course, first off, strike one with me was the hotel. Because they was like, if you're going to be rich, you got to act rich. I'm like, I can act rich, but I don't got no money, partner. So they try to stay in this fancy, smancy hotel. I was like, man, I'm going to stay around the corner at the Motel 6, I'm like, man, I ain't spending no kind of money, Now, you imagine, let me tell you something right now. If I try to take my wife right now somewhere to a Motel 6, my wife would be like, man, buddy, I'm turning around, homeboy. You can drop me back off. And she don't talk like that, but she definitely would be like, nah, I'm not staying at a Motel 6. I wouldn't want to stay at a Motel 6 either if I'm with my wife. But me, myself, I'm a caveman. It's okay. So I stayed at the Motel 6 around the corner, And then it's like, oh, we can meet at such time. We're going to get some breakfast, I went over there and freeloaded some breakfast off the continental breakfast at the hotel, whatever, It was fine. And then they was like, oh, we going to this stadium, So we all load up in the van. We drive to the stadium. And it's like a stadium. I'm like, man, we really at a stadium, like at a basketball stadium. I don't know where we was at the time. Because this is 2000. This is before a trucking tournament came along. This is just, this is just me. At the time, I didn't know nothing about North Carolina, none of that. So we had a basketball stadium. And the first thing these people do, and I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I knew I was done with these people at this exact moment. We was all sitting there, this guy came on stage, and these people started all moving their arms, Think Arsenio back in the day. Ooh. And I'm like, what are they doing? And it was like, ooh. And it was like, ooh, ooh. And they made a noise, like a flushing noise, like flushing the toilet. And they was like, flush that stinking job. Woo! And I was like, oh, buddy, I'm out. I was like, no, thank you. I was like, no. I was like, this too much, man. I was like, nah, I'm good. I was like, I'm out, man. So all these people came on stage, and it was basically for at the time they was calling it a quick start. I think it was Amway now. These guys got on stage and they talked about how broke they was. Now they driving in Lamborghinis and Mercedes. I'm thinking, man, this not helping me not one bit. I remember I went home. My brother, I didn't even discuss it with my brother. My brother, he was more than happy to be like, see, I told you. And he's like, I told you. I was like, man, he tripping. But anyway, it didn't work out. It just didn't work out. And then I remember me and my brother, we watched the 2020 episode, and they was talking about Amway, and they was talking about how they scheme people out of money and everything like that. Now, me personally, if you want to be into network marketing, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that stuff, Some of that stuff is definitely not for me. So at the time, I definitely didn't want to do any of that. So, because I remember before I gave him the name of somebody, and he called him up, and I remember I went to the house with him, and he was doing all this pitching, and I was like, man, I said, I don't think this is for me, man, But anyway, yeah, that as soon as they drew that picture, I was like, nope, I'm out. I was like, this is not for me. This is not gonna work. And then my brother, he was more than happy to point out that he's like, man, you drove all the way to North Carolina for that? I was like, man, thank you, sir. Thank you. But anyway, today was a long episode, ladies and gentlemen. But I mean, come on. Who doesn't enjoy a few good stories? All right. We will be back tomorrow with, of course, tomorrow's Sunday, and of course, on Sundays we do a little motivation, and then we get on out of here. Okay, so I hope you enjoy this episode of the podcast. This will probably be the longest podcast you ever have to listen to, unless we interview somebody. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, because today is Saturday. Tell another friend and tell another friend that not only this is the best podcast in the world. This is the only podcast that is universally loved. All right. With that being said, my name is Tony Rizzano. This is Online Marketing Moves, and we will talk to you later. And as always, everybody, say it with me one time for the one time. Say it with me, everybody. And as always, everybody, this is for my mama right now. And as always, everybody, peace.